Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Sword Art Online Alicization anime review. This one's going to be for episode 22, which is called Titan of the Sword. And we're basically in the finale right now. The big battles are coming thick and fast, and this was definitely a interesting episode. Some very kind of memorable moments, and there's going to be a ton of them on the way as we go through the last couple of episodes until I suppose the halfway mark of Alicization. But I suppose we start off with the, in the end, very, very quick fight with Chodalkin. This has a little bit more substance to it in the light novels. It's more like he gets to do like 2 attacks, but here they sort of shorten it down to 1 and just have Kirito more or less one-shot him. But there's a little bit of tactics to it. Alice kind of holds it off with the power of her sword, and that gives time for Kirito to power up his kind of new move, which is this kind of, enhanced with like the power of his will, Vorpal Strike, where he imagines himself, I suppose, killing Chodalkin so clearly that he actually turns into Black Swordsman Kirito. He gets the outfit kind of changes, and it just obviously the huge distance covered is the main thing. Very cool moment. The music was great during it, very much Aincrad inspired, but cool moment to just kill Chodalkin, and it really highlights again just how brutal some of the finishing blows or kind of death moments are in this arc, in that Chodalkin just gets ruined here, and then Administrator just throws him against a wall. There's so much blood in this episode whenever anyone gets stabbed, and it was just meant to show how kind of callous Administrator is, that he had done all this for her, and she just discards him the second he loses. And then, that leads into a pretty lengthy conversation with Administrator where, it's just meant to kind of present both sides again, that like, here's ultimately what we're fighting for, acknowledging that there is going to be a whole second half to this arc, that it's not just this fight that it's about here, that there is a, war incoming in this world, and, there's the future of this world at stake, in addition to just fight Administrator, get Alice back. So, in that sense, like, that was sort of the importance of this conversation, to again get across the idea of what do the inhabitants of this world kind of mean? How alive, in a way, are they? So, little bits and pieces, like, I suppose, it coming out to everyone that Kirito is actually a human from outside the game, is kind of important for, I suppose, everyone to know, and place a significance on the lives of the people of this world, and how Administrator is just willing to do whatever she can to survive, and the final way she's planning on doing that is the sword golem. So she uses the piety module that she has, combines all the swords around the area together into this golem that is basically just made of blades. And it's this kind of impossible thing. It's made of like 30 divine weapons, plus this thing shouldn't be able to exist. Quinella even says that this is kind of like pushing the memory limits of herself to make this thing. And it's shown just how powerful it is when it just immediately takes out Alice, immediately takes out Kirito. They're just completely stabbed. The fight is over. Again, very quick, sudden, brutal, just the amount of blood. And Yu-Gi-Oh's just frozen still, can't do anything, and that's when, of course, the knife comes back into play. We finally get to see it used here. Yu-Gi-Oh stabs the ground, which brings Cardinal into play. And we get to see, of course, her make her appearance, heals Alice, heals Kirito, and Charlotte also gets a little bit of a chance to show off here as well. She goes up to full size, fends off the sword golem for about 5 seconds, but that's enough for Yu-Gi-Oh to bring Cardinal in. Fairly kind of tragic death, even though I don't think the character was set up all that well. I think they eventually got around to revealing it. But obviously it was differently done in the light novel. There was more hints about it earlier on. So I think, in the grand scheme of things, I think it was okay done in terms of, especially afterwards, the sort of in memory kind of moment they gave her of just like she was just an NPC, like that she wasn't even a Fluchtlight, but how could like she have the ability to like sacrifice herself for the sake of someone else if she was just an NPC? And it's just kind of showing this idea of, in a game like this, when it is so real, that in a way, like, just the influence of someone like a Kirito can have on even just computer programs. And I suppose that's the whole idea they're going for, but like Yui all the way back in the Aincrad arc. It's what they're going for with Charlotte here, and just in general, Kirito's impact on basically any Fluchtlight he comes across, and getting across that we still have to treat all of these characters here, even though most of them are just artificial Fluchtlights, as being actual living beings, because in essence they're sort of virtually based, but they are all, you know, actual personalities and so on. So, you know, that was pretty well done. And again, the sort of brutality of it, that like Charlotte's attacks just got her limbs cut off because the thing's made of swords, so it's this kind of near impossible fight. And that's when we get a chance for Cardinal to come in. She gets introduced to Alice, of course, and it's just setting up that this is what's happening now. It is Cardinal versus Administrator. The Sword Golem is there, but it seems like she almost took it out in one shot, but obviously there's much more to come with the Sword Golem. So, you know, as I said, things are just going to keep, you know, popping off from here. Big thing after big thing after big thing. The next couple of episodes are going to be pretty crazy, and I hope they do all of the big scenes really well to set up the second half of the arc. But like, as I said, this episode, it definitely had its big moments. In this one, it was the death of Charlotte, which I suppose in the grand scheme of what's to come isn't the biggest or most impactful kind of moment, but it was well done, given that it's a more minor kind of plot, a more minor character in the grand scheme of what's happening in this arc. Yeah, of course we had the, you know, taking out of Chidalkin, which was a cool moment for Kirito, of course, the hero moment, and the arrival of the Sword Golem is being the big plot point, of course. So again, there's a lot of technical details to get into about what exactly the Sword Golem is and how exactly it works. I'm very interested to know how they explain that, because I remember reading the light novel, when it gets to this point, there is a bit of a, like, it takes a little bit to wrap your head around what exactly the Sword Golem is, so I hope they have a clear and concise way to explain the full details in the Sword Golem, and just a lot of the technical stuff that's going to happen coming up soon. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out for. I think it is interesting that we did have a fairly lengthy, just, you know, talking scene kind of in the middle of all this action. I sort of just skimmed past it a little bit, but like there was some good depth in there of like Alice getting to sort of really speak her mind to Administrator about everything, and talk about Bercoli and all of the worries that he has, and of course Administrator's response is just like, oh yeah, I know he had all of these issues and problems, but I just erased his memories and kind of reset him. That's just her response to everything, is just to reset that. And Alice takes that as, I suppose, this, in a way, lack of trust, and that she's still coming at this from someone who was ultimately loyal to Quinella before and just wants to protect the world. And it is this huge betrayal, the fact that Quinella ultimately didn't trust any of them enough to allow them to, I suppose, know the truth. And because of that, that's the ultimate betrayal of Alice. So, you know, they did that really well. And then Kirito, of course, presenting the more kind of, I suppose, deeper perspective on everything, of just getting across that, you know, what are you going to do? Just be the ruler of a world that doesn't have anything? You're going to be deleted, basically, as well, if the people on the outside decide that this experiment was a failure. And it's obviously, that's where it's revealed that she has a plan, she has a sacred art that she's planning to use that apparently will stop her from being deleted. And this is, I suppose, getting into the idea that they've set up only a little bit, because we haven't cut away to the ocean turtle in a while, of they are also planning some sort of way to sort of bring the AIs into the real world, and is that what Quinella is planning? So there is other plots going on in the background. As I said, it's more hinting towards, I suppose, where the arc is going in its second half. But for now, we're in the big finale to the plot we've sort of been dealing with for most of the arc up to now, and I think it's being done very well. They just have to nail the last couple of parts, and then we move into the second half. So that's my thoughts on this episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were, but that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.